Hi everybody, and welcome to a new feature I've created on my Patreon page. I decided to give you a little glimpse of life behind the scenes of a psychotherapist. So you're going to get a new look at what I do when people aren't here, how I prepare for my day, how I handle my sessions, what happens when other things are going on. So stay tuned for part 1 of 3 of life behind the scenes of a psychotherapist.
So how does a normal day start for you as a therapist?
A normal day, probably is no normal day, but a normal day typically, a lot of people don't know behind the scenes what happens. Behind the scenes, I come in, I have to turn on the office, lights on, clean everything up, make sure everything's sorted, make sure all the cushions on the couch look good. We've got Kleenex boxes everywhere, so we have to make sure we've got plenty of Kleenex, water, soft drinks, candy, coffee. There are so many different pieces that go into getting the office together. Then there's the actual client. So I have to get my folders out. The clients I see that day, if I see 7 people, I have 7 tablets, 1 for each client. And so I put those out, set them in my office so that I can just grab one each hour and just go to the next session. That way I keep it organized and in order, and I keep my time as together as I can. So the normal day is getting here about an hour before I ever start clients, because I like to be ready, and I get everything set up, and I want to make sure the office is clean and ready. I like being here before my clients so that when they get here, they know everything's all set up and ready. The coffee's out there, the water, and that I have myself prepared for each client. And I have a whole separate preparation for each client that I think of before I actually see them. So, long story short, the logistics of it is probably a 45-minute process just to get everything up and running, organized, reset from the day before, and clean and together so everybody can come in.
Does the setup of your office matter?
Yes, the setup definitely matters. At least to me. I know there are a lot of different ways therapists might set up offices. For me, I have my very own style of furniture. A lot of people might not realize this when it comes to therapy, that the type of furniture you use, the coloring of furniture, the coloring on the walls that's around this office, the lighting, all of that matters. And so for some people it doesn't. For other therapists it might not matter. As long as I've done this, we've learned over time that there are certain things that really are key to having a really good office. I try to create a therapy office that I would want to go to myself. One that I'd be comfortable in, so that the furniture's comfortable and inviting, the lighting is comfortable and warm, and that the amenities and the way the office is set up really makes me feel good. So my personal style, believe it or not, a lot of people probably have never heard this, even clients of mine, I like an open concept type office. So open means when you walk into one of my offices, you're going to see the couch and the chairs open to you to walk into. You're not going to walk in a room and it'll be closed off, or there'll be a desk there you have to walk around. It's typically going to be you walk in and you will see the couch in a distance that you can walk to and sit in, because I like it to be open and inviting. I don't typically like desks in an office, and in my office you'll never see a desk. We have a separate workroom where we put desks in that people can work when they're not in session, but these offices are meant for sessions. So I like comfortable furniture. I like interesting chairs and couches for people to feel like they're cozy. And I also like the lighting, like making sure that there aren't any fluorescent lighting like typically have in office buildings, that those aren't on, that we have separate lamps that we use to make it warm. We have certain paint color that we use on the walls. It's a lot of detail that goes into setting up an office. And we want to make it as comfortable for people as possible, but also a place that looks really professional. And so we like to keep things tidy and neat and not very cluttered. So you're not going to see a bunch of stuff laying around in our offices, because different therapists interchange between the rooms that we have. So we like to keep things as tidy and also clean and also open as possible. Yeah, it's a lot that goes into that setup.
So tell me a little bit about your background, like where you started.
Background, boy, that goes back a long way. I've been doing this for over 25 years now. I started out of graduate school in 1995. And I did my internship, which all counselors have to do, of a couple, 2-3 years, underneath another person, which I did in a private practice. So a lot of people might not know this about me either, but I didn't start in a school, I didn't start in an agency or a clinic or a nonprofit. I started in a private practice with 0 clients, and I had to find every single one of my clients from day one, which was really hard. Had an amazing supervisor that helped me start my practice and helped me learn how to do all the skills of play therapy and working with teenagers and adults, and so that really helped. That's the value of an internship. But I started 25 years ago, all in Houston. It's been Houston, Katy, Jersey Village, Cypress, that kind of area, but it's all been pretty much in the same city. And I started from the ground up. And I had specific people in my life that meant the world to me, that guided me, that mentored me, that coached me, that discipled me all the way through this. And I got tons of good training and tons of skill building. And I was very fortunate to work with young children early on. And I did a lot of work with foster care and adoption and Medicaid, and worked with a lot of really challenging cases, and I got a lot of great experience. And then moved on from there and decided how much I'd love to work with parents. So I started the parenting piece. But I started way back. I was a young guy at 26 years old back then, not married, no children, nothing. And that's when I met my wife. And so we were just friends, and then we were dating, and then we got married, and that was kind of the cool part. We both do the same thing. But my thing was always learning, always growing, always building relationship with people. And so I started in a private practice. I stayed in a private practice and went and built my own. After I got my internship finished and got my full license, I went and opened my own practice. And ever since then, we just built and grown and loved it. We just love what we do.
So you mentioned the preparation it takes to get ready for a day of work. So with COVID-19, is the prep any different? Is it harder?
That's a really good question, because it's different now. Like we do our office totally different. And this is another thing people wouldn't know, that with the coronavirus, we've had to change our office. People still want to and need to come in. Therapy is not always best online. So while I could speak to people via a computer or a phone, sometimes it's best to do face-to-face. And sometimes cases are intense enough that they need that. And people might want that. And we want to make their mental health treatment as quality as we can. So we've had to totally revamp the office, because our decision was to make sure only one client at a time was crossing through the waiting room, so that nobody was crossing paths. But it has changed in that we have to clean before the day starts. We have to clean after each session by spraying and wiping down whatever clients use, touch. There's a lot of little pieces in prepping the office, but we've done a really good job. Even play therapy with children, that they could still come in. We clean everything that they use after the session so that it's all sterile and back to where it was when that child leaves. And so we have been able to keep this office going and keep seeing people and do it in a way where nobody feels any worry of another person being here. And plus, when we sit in our chairs, we're pretty much distant anyway from where we are, so we keep good space. And I think the clients have really liked being able to have the choice of still coming in the office. But boy, it's created a lot more work than we've had before, because there's so much cleaning in between, and there's so much sterilization of the waiting room, just in taking toys out and the coffee maker and stuff like that, where we've opened the front door to the office. We don't have any client touch a doorknob ever. And so, because we do that, and that way it just makes it smooth, and it's worked really well for everybody.
So how do you get ready to see a client?
My day, that adds on to the start of my day.
Yeah.
So when I get ready to see a client, before the day starts, I think about all the clients I'm seeing for that day. I really do. And I think about my clients in between session. So I feel like I'm kind of prepping all week, just every now and then. But I think about each client, what's going on in their lives, what I feel like is coming today, preparing my mind, preparing my heart, preparing my just energy for seeing them and doing the best I can. And so I a lot of times take out their chart, look at the notes that I've had from before, how the sessions have gone, and I kind of just get myself up to date. But see, I don't see as big of a practice as some people, So I keep my practice within a certain range number of people and be hopeful and work hard. I work hard at what I do to try to help everybody get better.